President El-Sisi, thank you very much for this wonderful hospitality and for this spectacular organization. COP27, President Shukri, Your Majesties, Excellencies, dear friends. In just days, our planet's population will cross a new threshold. The 8 billionth member of our human family will be born. This milestone puts into perspective what this climate conference is all about. How will we answer when baby 8 billion is old enough to ask, what did you do for our world and for our planet when you had the chance? Excellencies, this UN climate conference is a reminder that the answer is in our hands. And the clock is ticking. We are in the fight of our lives, and we are losing. Greenhouse gas emissions keep growing. Global temperatures keep rising. And our planet is fast approaching tipping points that will make climate chaos irreversible.
Se você considera a arquitetura como um discurso sobre essa questão, transformar a natureza em habitável, porque ela por si não é, você veja do que se trata quando se fala de arquitetura.
Climate change. We haven't fixed this problem, but we have solutions now. We have technologies and options to do that we can install to increase thermal performance and so forth. The problem that we need to solve is how we incorporate those energetic achievements with the actual structures of the building. My name is Michael Salka. I am the Technical Director of the Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia's Valdara Labs. I think we need a better sense of how dependent we are on nature and how the separation between the urban and the natural has always been an illusion. When you start thinking about material and where it comes from, you have to understand the ecology or the biology if we're talking about natural materials. We need to be looking regionally and understanding which material is the best solution for that particular place. Timber is an incredibly important material because of the availability of forests worldwide, and also maybe more importantly because of how relatively easy it is to integrate timber with current supply chains and manufacturing chains. And there are other places where maybe rattan or hemp or sisal or other natural materials might be relevant, but in general the infrastructures don't exist yet. So I believe that we need to make the most of the infrastructures we have, but at the same time building up other infrastructures to use other materials in a similar way.
If we have that much stone, why can't we just make, whether it's social housing or luxury housing or office buildings, out of this material? In France, for instance, they're suggesting that 50% of all materials in publicly funded buildings must be biomass materials, so timber, etc. Okay. That's fantastic compared to the UK, where they're still debating it, talking about it, because the people who help decide that legislation are often lobbies. Why would you want to? Surely stone is unreliable, surely timber is flammable, and slowly but surely these are removed.
20 years ago nobody was in a way interested in, or they think it's strange, and earth is something, oh, what it means, you know. Then came this question if this is really relevant, because they say it's you can't scale up these things. It is only made for small building. It was a little challenge for us to say no. We want to be relevant, and we want to go probably also for bigger structure. We want to scale up this material. We want to make it able that everybody can use it. The first building we did at the Europola in Zurich, we was very proud to have earth plaster. This was the only thing they allowed us. It means it was not really not much for us, but it was something because it was a public building, and for us it was the first time we have earth in a public building.
The challenge of climate change and ecological crisis, it's very multidimensional. We talk often about carbon and global warming because it drives these other dimensions, but the way we see it manifest is in terms of greater storms, greater tsunamis, greater disasters that impact resilience, movement of people away from their traditional cultures or societies that causes a social impact.
Sur la question des migrations et de l'accueil des personnes qui changent de territoire, en France et en région parisienne, là où je travaille, il y a des surfaces immenses de bâtiments qui sont inutilisés. Je vais travailler pour des entreprises d'insertion, donc qui vont réinsérer des personnes par l'activité économique. Ce que ça convoque, c'est que ça crée un lien entre ces personnes-là, donc qui sont à la rue, qui sont en parcours de migration, qui ont des difficultés à être insérées et intégrées dans la société. Et l'idée, elle est pour moi de vraiment revaloriser ces métiers, ces compétences, et que ça peut être pour tout le monde.
In Chile, we have this problem that our last government has decided to open the frontiers. Everybody came in, but once they're in, who gives them housing? Who gives them jobs? Who gives them health? We're trying to take in discussion with this is how things are changing, how we can, as architects, be part and liderate that change. What we develop is not a housing prototype, it's a constructive system. Not only to present a possible solution for the lack of housing, is for the lack of infrastructure. With a constructive system like this, you can maybe solve a little school, a little health program, a little library. We construct where all these people live. Over there, their kids. They were raised over there. Over there, people dies. They make their own lives inside of these spaces. We have a huge responsibility for them. What are we going to do for them and for us?
Nós cada vez estamos mais polarizados, cada vez se vive de uma forma mais artificial. A política é um artifício, a religião é um artifício. Portanto, esta polarização o que faz é criar cada vez mais fronteras.
Siempre se nos ha inculcado un modelo de vida individualista en que los individuos son independientes. A día de hoy está muy claro que todos somos interdependientes. Ya la pregunta no es qué nos une, sino qué nos separa.
We arrived to Santiago just the day after of this social clash, I don't know how you can tell it, and the city was on fire. And it looks like Pompeii, I don't know. And then I thought, okay, we need to change. We need to start thinking on a different way.
La sostenibilidad en nuestra manera de enfocar y de pensar, pero porque también hay una sincronía con un momento, con una pregunta que nos atañe a todos, ¿no? Que tiene que ver con este mundo común que compartimos, ¿no?
Por ejemplo, en Cornellá hay 4 núcleos de escalera y podríamos haber decidido que cada una de estas escaleras entra directamente desde la calle, pero no hubiéramos creado ese espacio social. Todos los vecinos pasan por la misma puerta y se crea una identidad. Son estas pequeñas decisiones cuando tú te planteas, ¿no?, al usuario como el centro del proyecto, que acaban convirtiendo esta capacidad social.
Tú puedes, como arquitecto, fomentar. Lo que es bonito es cuando ya no solo hay ratios, cuando ya no solo estás optimizando las circulaciones, cuando lo estás entendiendo como un lugar de vida.
When I started to study architecture in the 90s, I didn't really get what architecture was about, why I should do architecture, why architects did this job. Then I visited a co-housing project called Sargfabrik in Vienna, and I really suddenly understood what architecture can be about. It can have an influence, and very direct influence in how people live together and communicate with each other. That changed my view about the role of architecture completely. I think one of the main learnings was to really listen to people, to define this role as an architect of participatory processes, as a translator of these necessities to architecture or to structures.
O principal desafio da cidade contemporânea, em qualquer dos locais em que essa cidade se encontre, ainda é o direito à cidade, né? É a capacidade, de fato, das cidades abraçarem todos aqueles que querem ou precisam viver na cidade. Como diria Ray Koolhaas, a cidade é tudo que temos, a terra é finita e a disputa pela presença na cidade é uma das disputas mais ferozes hoje que a gente encontra.
For us, operating in a city like Madrid, the financial pressure that is put into the city, the speculation on housing, the skyrocketing of prices, it's one of the main issues that we're having to deal with.
In the school we have a lot of discussion if it's okay that you still build. It's very important that we also have a positive way of dealing with these problems.
Nowadays, the urban waste are becoming a resource or potential for architecture. All processes of recovering raw materials can be called urban mining.
We will use up to 30% of the existing concrete inside the new structures.
Le sujet que j'ai trouvé qui me permette de se saisir de ces urgences-là, c'était de faire attention à comment on construisait et surtout à comment on déconstruisait. La démolition et la production de déchets liés à la déconstruction et à la construction, c'est quelque chose qui m'a beaucoup touchée très rapidement. Mon objectif, voilà, ça a été de faire en sorte de mieux gérer les déchets et mieux gérer les ressources qui existent déjà dans le secteur de la construction et de l'architecture.
Sustainability means also like flexibility. We should think about a building that can change quickly, something that in 10 years can be flipped from hotel to office building and then housing, and avoiding wasting of material.
The only way to start to address this multidimensional scenario is by focusing on ecosystems. We can't only be measuring carbon, we can't only be measuring energy use. We need to think about also the way that we are providing habitat for other species, healthy soils, different vegetation. Only ecosystems can solve a systemic challenge like climate change.